Hey everyone, Sunday, time for a new episode of Record Collecting with a Quill. Theme for today, siblings rock. There's a lot of siblings in rock history and I'm going to take a closer look at some of my favorite ones. But before we start, you know the drill. Make sure you subscribe, hit the little notice bell, share with your friends. First, I gotta take a quick step back to last week's episode. I did an unboxing of the latest Tom Petty live at the Fillmore. Short review, stunning performance. I've been listening to the album all week and excellent an excellent box set. If you haven't heard it, make sure you do. They were fantastic band, Heartbreakers, back in the day, and this is arguably them in their prime. So give it a listen. It's well worth it. Starting out, siblings. There's a lot of them in rock history and some interesting stories. Some sad stories and some fun stories, but I'm starting out with the Allman Brothers. The Allman Brothers band. I picked this one. Eat a Peach could have been any of the albums with Duane Allman on guitar. A sad story, really. Duane died really young. He made a huge mark on music in his short career, both in Allman Brothers, but also as a session guitarist on Derek and the Dominos and with Aretha Franklin and many others. But Greg continued on. He carried on, and they had huge success over the years. But it's one of those you can't help but think what would have been if Duane would have been with us a little longer. But really cool album, Eat a Peach. I've always been fond of this artwork for some reason. I had to get a t-shirt of the artwork someday. Really cool. Next one in the category, Brothers Fighting. Kinks, Ray and Dave Davis. I guess they've been fighting since day one, I guess. It's one of the most well-documented fights between brothers ever. And it's a shame, really. It's sort of put the Kinks in. You rarely mention them. It's usually the Beatles, it's the Rolling Stones, but I think Kinks they are up there. When the Kinks are at their best, there is some incredible songwriting, and I'm quite fond of this live album. Actually, live at Kelvin Hall. I know it's if you look at it, usually has some so reviews, but I like live albums are supposed to be sort of postcards from a show, and I think this one is really good. The sound is not that good, really, but it gives you a feeling of seeing them in some ballroom in the mid-'60s with a lot of girls screaming, and the playing is a little bit all over the place at times, but still really cool and a cool energy. And they sure could fight, those brothers, which, as I said, is a shame. Next one, we have brothers who are just starting out as well. I have to mention these guys. Greta Van Fleet, you have the Kiska brothers. They still, as I said, sort of starting out, made some great music. I think at first when I heard him, I was really into it as a sort of a copy of early Led Zeppelin and Rush. But I think as time has passed, they sort of find their own more and more finding their own sound. And I think the latest album was excellent. But I just picked this one. It was the first one I got when I searched my collection. Great band. It's one of those bands going to be interesting to see how things develop. If they continue to make great music and sort of find new sounds and their songwriting, I think, is really interesting as well. Next one, talking about brothers fighting. I mentioned these guys before, but well documented. Chris and Rich Robinson and the Black Crowes, fantastic songwriters. I think when last time I featured this sleeve, someone had made fun of me because I was putting my hand somewhere, so I'm gonna hold the album like this. They've been fighting almost since day one as well. Written some fantastic songs over the years, mainly Rich writing the music and Chris writing the melody and melody and lyrics. But they seem to get along fine now these days. Hopefully, they've changed a lot of members in the band since they reformed, but they seem to sort of enjoy each other's company. So I hope it continues like that, and I hope they make new music, because they always make interesting albums. Some better than others, but still a fantastic band. And yeah, I'm gonna go with this one first. It's gonna be It's gonna be a wide variety of music featured in this episode. But Toto, you have to mention the Pantera brothers. On this one, you only have Steve and Jeff. This one, Mike later joined the band. I think maybe Joe is on. Their father is on percussion on this one. Also, a trio of brothers who made a huge mark in music history. Only Steve is alive now. Jeff died in the early 90s, and Mike a few years ago. But great musicians, all of them, and Toto was just one of their many outlets. Did tons of session work, especially Jeff. He drummed on so many great albums. And I'm a sucker for these early Toto albums. I think they are really cool. And great melodic music and great playing. So Turn Back, the third album, probably one of the heavier ones. Some cool stuff on this one. Pantera brothers, cool guys. Yeah, from Toto. You have to mention these guys as well. They're in the news just recently. They reformed, if you can call it a reunion, since Vinnie Paul and Dimebag Darrell are both dead. Dimebag died tragically, was shot on stage. Really ugly experience. And his brother Vinnie Paul continued on for a couple of years with Hell Yeah, but died only 54 years of age, which is really tragic. And it's interesting, I don't know, I saw a couple of YouTube clips from the first show with Zakk Wylde on guitar and Charlie Benante from Anthrax on drums, and it sounded really good. It's not really Pantera. It's sort of more of a legacy act, and I think they tried to sell it as that. But they did a good job, I must say. I'm a huge fan of Pantera. I think they had a swing to their music, which I'm really fond of. Great brothers. They made a huge remark on sort of this type of metal. The Abbott brothers. And last but not least, we've been talking siblings and mainly, yeah, all guys, but you have to mention these. Ann and Nancy Wilson from Heart. Also a great team, but they've been at each other's throat every now and then. Just recently, I think just a couple of years ago, they had a huge rift between them. Something involving their, I think, kids and a tour bus and a dog who ran away and some really weird stuff. I think they made sort of amends now and are friends again, but great. I mean, Nancy's guitar playing and Ann's singing is fantastic. And this album, the first one, some tremendous songs on this one. Magic Man and Crazy on You, yeah, so much great stuff. I think here in Europe, I think they always been sort of big in America, but here they are more famous for their sort of 80s ballads, which I think is people forget all the other great stuff they did. It was more of sort of a Zeppelin vibe to their earlier albums, which is well worth discovering. Yeah, 7 sibling bands with some interesting stories. Now I want to hear, I didn't mention the Van Halen brothers, for instance. There's tons of other, the Bachman Turner Overdrive, there's tons of stuff. No Oasis, but what are your mandatory siblings in rock history? Let me know in the comment section. And also be sure to follow the Quill on social media. It's the Quill Sweden, the Quill Sweden. See you all again next week for a new episode. That's it for now. Cheers. Bye.